all due respect, that it be checked out prior to occupancy.
Weren't there two barns on this property, Lee?
I see what you're saying. There's one to the right of the driveway, and the one I'm referring to is on the east, going up the hill.
Okay,
Yeah,
just trying to clarify which barn you're talking about.
no, good point. Yeah, there are two. This one is on the eastern upward slope of the property, bordering the Dufresne's property.
I suggest that situation isn't a septic system problem, that it shouldn't affect this approval, but we ought to.
No, I agree.
I think the appropriate thing would be to send a note to Wanda Luff, and also the real estate agent, saying you observed the oil in the ground and suggest the water table or water test be done of the well. It certainly makes it so people have to disclose it.
Yeah, I just don't want anyone, and it may be all for naught, but I just don't want anyone get a bad surprise after the fact.
So what are our thoughts on approving this septic repair? And then we'll deal with the letter separately.
Sure. I mean, as far as the septic design repair, that looks to be, just right on the button here. The other part was just before it got away from me. I just remembered it. Just a minute.
Herb, what is your thought?
Sounds reasonable to divide the two issues up.
How are you with the repair?
Looks okay to me, Dick.
Okay. So Colleen will approve the repair subject to so we grant the variances and approve the repairs subject to those conditions, but that you send a letter to Wanda Luff, and this one is Gilda Mary, I guess, as I recall, and saying that a member of the board during the septic inspection noticed oil or hydrocarbon type materials in the sandy soil, and the board suggests that a well water test be done to see if the well has been contaminated by the hydrocarbons in the soil.
Okay.
So what that gets those two.
Dick, this is Bob Sheehan.
Yes, Bob.
You are indeed correct. It's Brooks Real Estate, Gail DeMary, that has the listing.
So, Bob, you've got the 7:15 appointment. Did you hear what our action just was?
Yes, I did.
So we're done with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good evening, all.
Okay, you
Bye-bye.
too. Next one is the minutes from the 18th of January. Are we going to approve those? Herb, you made some changes and I made a couple others.
I think they're okay, although I have a question. And I can't remember, or else I wouldn't be asking it. Do our minutes reflect the specific voting we do on each of the items, for instance, under to be signed?
on each one of these, I think you usually say all approved, but you should make sure that on every item, it says all three members approved. Because
Okay.
because it definitely says in the open meeting laws that each item shall be voted on and the vote shall be recorded.
Okay.
And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I don't believe our minutes reflect that.
No, they don't usually. It's just like all, like you've signed, you signed all of these things, but I can change that.
Yeah, if you just make sure that it says all three members approved, because every time because I know that's important to do. If you notice, every time on every item, I ask Herb and Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, and that's why I bring it up, because we're not recording it.
Yeah, and that definitely should be recorded.
Okay, got it.
Neil, I see you there.
I am.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We voted not to act on your design tonight pending the holes that you dug, and Lee just said you did dig holes.
Yes.
But I don't have time to get it in my report and get it before the board.
No, and that's fine, but I'd like a little direction. I don't know if Lee told you, but we hit ledge when I dug. We basically dug a hole right at the end of where the trenches would have been.
Yeah.
And so it was all ledge. The material kind of changed there. Bobby thought maybe there was ledge there, and he was correct. I have a couple solutions, and I need direction from the board. I could either go with a bed, an Elgin bed that would shrink the length of the system it would shrink it by 20 feet. I could put a 15 by 21 bed in there, and it would calculate to a 3-bedroom design plus the kitchen.
I'm just opening I'm opening the design up, Neil.
Okay.
Yeah. I see what your problem is, that the 100-foot buffer
Exactly.
is what you're going to hit.
So if I stay with the trenches, I'll be into the buffer zone by 20 feet.
How deep was the ledge?
90. Well, it was going up. I mean, the deepest part was 90 inches, but it was going up. So it was probably more like 7 feet. Sorry.
So what happens? It lifts. If you stayed there and just came up, you probably can't even fit the fill in the property.
Exactly. I know you don't like beds, but that is the best solution, in my opinion, and to keep conservation happy.
What are your the issue? I'm just looking at the drawing. The issue is either go with the bed or move into and you said you would have to move it 20 feet, Neil. That's what you would have to.
Yeah, to keep those trenches, because we don't have enough room to put 3 trenches in. Then I'd have to move it 20 feet to get away from that ledge, to be sure we're away from it.
So that gives you a separation of 80 feet. Is that what you're saying?
80 feet from the wetlands, correct. I mean, it was obviously meet the state regulation, but the local bylaw is 100.
Yeah, the state is 50, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
If it were me, but if you just made me choose, I'd be choosing keep the trenches and move it to 20 feet.
That's fine.
But no, that's just what I would say. That's where
Right.
I would give, especially with these Elgin systems that have such good filtration.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would
again-
rather give the people longer life on the leaching facility and better total, reduce the volume per square foot and move a little closer to the wetlands. But Lee and Herb, what are you thinking?
Well, that's why I was questioning. The state is 50 feet. It's local 100. You
Right.
can get it at 80. Why not?
Right.
This
Yeah. And
crazy
again,
not
this, yeah, this is all lawn too. It's not like we're cutting anything to move it 20 feet into the wetland buffer. It's all lawn. There won't be any trees cut, just some grass disturbed.
Lee, what are you thinking? Are you still with us, Lee? Sounds
Oh,
like,
yeah, I'm thinking if we can grab the 80-foot separation, I don't think the conservation is gonna have that much of an issue with that, hopefully, and just let it go.
okay, so that's all three of us said the same thing, Neil.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's
okay.
what we're doing.
Okay. I will get it ready for the next meeting.
Okay,
Great. All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
okay,
All
All right.
right,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
okay. So we did approve, all three of us approved, is that correct? The minutes other than, well, it's not other than, but Herb is making a point even on these minutes, Colleen, to go in and change them. Actually, you know what? If they're gonna get changed, what we ought to do is change these minutes and you resubmit them and we won't accept them this week.
Okay. Okay.
So that way we all know what actually we approved. Okay,
Okay.
then the next item that I have is Colleen's timesheet, and that's the normal 70 hours. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, and I think, Dick, perhaps a way to deal with this is for Colleen to list all of these in the minutes and make it clear that there was a call for a vote on each one of them, and there was all three members voting affirmatively, assuming that we do on these, rather than separating this into each one of these and then record a vote under it. That makes no sense to me. I think it can be all done as a group. It just needs a few more sentences added.
I could support that. So you would say, Colleen, that each item was voted on and approved unanimously or something to that effect. So you say each item was voted on separately and each was approved unanimously.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Something of that sort, that all members of the board present voted for this. Yes. And that way, it just makes it more streamlined, makes it easier, doesn't turn it into a gigantic hassle. That wasn't my point, to turn it into a hassle.
I think
Yep.
your point is well taken, Herb, and we should make sure we do that.
Yeah. And I think we can do it easily.
Yeah. The next one is money turnover. And it turns out it's $1,855, $1,660 of Board of Health permits, $75 Board of Health licenses, and $120 for gas permits. Are we okay with that one?
Yes.
I'm okay with it.
And I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay,
Next one is a purchasing request, and that's for 2 address labels, all from Quilt, for $22.38. Laminating sheets for $15.29, and 3-ring binders for 2 of them for $15.98, for a total of $53.65. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay,
Next one is Red Fire Farm. It's 2 of them. A license to sell retail food and a license to sell milk and cream. Are we okay with both of those?
Yes.
Yep.
And I am too, Colleen, so they're both approved. The next one is Robert Sanamo for an installer's permit. Colleen, did you say this one is a renewal?
yes. I don't think he had a license last year, but I believe it was years before that, a couple of years before that.
So he's
No.
been before us.
Yes, he has.
Are we okay with this one?
Yes.
Yep.
I am too, Colleen, so that's all set. This is Haber
Okay.
Brothers for an installer's permit. This is also renewal. Are we okay, Lee and Herb?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, for me too, Colleen, that's approved.
Oh,
The
okay.
next one is Barry Linton, and this is a hauler's permit. This is also a renewal. Are we okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And me too, Colleen, that's approved. Next
Okay.
one is, now this one, Fletcher Sewer and Drain. Now this is a hauler's permit, but is this new, Colleen?
Well, yes, it is. I couldn't find where they had a license before. But is this something that you need to speak to them on, or like the installers, or no?
My feeling would be that we should be at least asking someone where this sewage is going.
Okay.
Herb and Lee, what do you think?
I'm sorry. What are these people going to do?
They're pumpers, so they're pumping this stuff out. And
Okay. Yeah.
and it just seems like in fact, we got in trouble some time ago with Greg Everson that he had put in a pump on a tank on Crescent Street, and we ended up with that being illegal, and we can't pump it. And there was a thing that we had to follow up on. So it just seems like we ought to find out with a guy like this where he's going. Does he have an agreement with any sewage treatment plant? We don't know. You know, I've seen this advertised on TV, but
Mm-hmm.
what the ad says on TV is, gee, we've got this brand new truck now, and now we're in the septic tank pumping business. So this is new for them too.
Oh. Do you
I
want
think-
them at the next meeting?
I think they're discharging on Ferry Street.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
You want them to come to the next meeting?
I think they should do that.
Okay.
So the next one is Bumpy's Natural and Organic Foods, and there are 2 here. The license to sell retail food, license to sell milk and cream. Now, Colleen, this is a renewal, but just in a different place. Is that correct?
Right, they were at Chateau Harmony, I guess, for several years, and now they are going to be at the other end of the Dunkin' Donut Plaza, the other end of Dunkin'.
And you said this is all prepackaged food. That's all this is that
That's
correct?
what he said. Yes, that is what he said. Of course, Lynn will have to go in and inspect him too.
Yeah. Are we okay with this, subject to Lynn's inspection?
Yes.
For both of them?
He's going into the shop where the bicycle shop used.
Yes.
So Colleen, we've approved both of them, unanimous with both, subject to Lynn's inspection.
Okay.
Next one is certificate of compliance. Lee, this one's on 27 New Ludlow Road. And this one also includes with it the certification that the deed notification is in place because it's got the Elgin system. Are we okay with this, Lee?
Yeah, as far as I could see, I met Jeff Pelusier on several occasions, and everything appeared to be exactly how it was supposed to be on that site. Should be fine.
Herb, are you okay with this one?
Yeah, I think so.
Me too. So Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Let's see, the next one is, we don't have any paperwork on this, but this is the Massachusetts DEP Air Sensor Grant Agreement. I asked Colleen to put this on the agenda because even though it only requires my signature, and but I thought the board should be acting on that. Are we okay to have Colleen sign my signature?
Yeah, I would agree. Yes.
The signature to accept the grant.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, if we don't accept that grant, you all are going to get very nasty letters.
Yeah. So, and I'm good with that too. Colleen will sign it. And for what it's worth, I was talking to Andrew Parker at McDuffie. They're really anxious. They've already talked it through with their science department, and the students are anxious to get this thing going, and they want to be involved with it. So this is a good thing. So Colleen, you can sign my name to that and send it
Okay.
in.
Perfect.
The next item is a Title V for 15 Lyman Street. Greg Everson did it and it passed. Lee, are we okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
Herb, are you okay?
To receive it?
Yes, to receive it.
Yes, I'm okay to receive it.
And I am too, Colleen, so it's received.
Okay.
The next item, and I don't know where we're going on either one of these. So first one is 20 New Ludlow Road. Talked about trash. I happened to drive by it and there's an old chair and I don't know what else is in front of the place. It didn't look like the kind of material that would get picked up by waste management, but did Herb or Lee, have we done anything with this one?
Well, we've made comments about it. This is an incredibly trashy site. There's junk of all sorts sitting out in front and particularly on the side of that house.
So do we send them a letter saying that the board is inspected, we've received a complaint and we've been inspected and they've got trash or refuse along the road in front of the house and it has to be removed and duly disposed of in a licensed facility? We can send that out and give them a week?
What's the muscle behind that?
we could probably fine them under the zoning laws, but that's probably our strongest action we can take. In fact, Colleen, you could ask, this is like the only one of the zoning laws that the Board of Health is the enforcer of. But if you could ask Reg what the teeth are that he has, and because he's the zoning enforcement officer, if we can find out what it is, then we can answer Herb's question.
Okay.
Well, I think until we have an answer to the question, there's no point in contacting the people.
Okay, so we'll do that 2 weeks from now. If we can have the answer, then we'll send the letter.
Okay.
Do we know whether or not this is a rental property?
It is.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That unfortunately makes a little more sense, but still got to get fixed.
The next one is 137.5 South Street, the rental unit conditions. That's the one you got a complaint. It didn't come directly in to us, right, Colleen? Someone shared that with us.
She did. She emailed it, I think, to me, and then I sent it to you.
So do we ask Lynn to make that inspection? Herb, Lee, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I was diverted for a minute. Say that again, Dick.
This is the apartment at 137.5 South Street.
Oh,
where
yes.
the woman was complaining about the stove or the cabinet's too close to the stove. And do we, if it's a housing complaint, do we have Lynn just do a housing inspection?
I would think so. This is the end unit of a bunch of apartments. I drove past it. Someone's got to take a look. So I would assume it's Lynn.
Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Lynn and/or building and/or fire. Probably Lynn first.
Yeah.
If she sees something out of the ordinary, she can contact the other appropriate offices if necessary.
My guess is it must be built exactly the same as all the others, but
you would think so. Yeah.
So we all agree that we'll have Lynn do that.
Okay.
The next one is the letter on this letter for the planning regarding 48 West State Street and the 413 dumpster. I got a call from Jim Tromke, and Jim Tromke said, "Hey guys, we asked you for an opinion. You sent the letter," he said on 2 different parcels, you sent us something in response. And he says, that's our letter and our job to decide what goes on. You guys shouldn't be negotiating directly with these applicants. That's, if you want to be doing that, we can't stop you from doing it, but you can't be telling them if they do this, that that's going to be okay with the planning board. And in my view, he's probably right. But he also told me there are no rules in the town for dealing with rules that the planning board can enforce dealing with these vehicles. So he really said, I can't do this as a planning board, but if you guys think it's important, the Board of Health ought to pass a rule, and then the planning board can deal with it. So what are our thoughts?
And what would the rule be?
Well, we'd have to talk about what-
Exactly. Exactly. This would be something that would take a lot of thought.
Yep. It does. And it probably is something that before you came up with, not you, before the you I meant is us. Before we came up with it, we probably would be wise to get other boards like Conservation Commission, like Planning Board involved and say, here's what we're thinking of doing. What do you think?
Sounds like a long-term project.
I agree with that. What do you think, Lee?
This is a potential huge undertaking, and if it's what I think it's going to be as far as vehicles and equipment parked on people's property, it's not going to go over well.
Colleen, I've got a good idea. Let's ask Colleen to see what places like Northampton or Hadley, just Amherst, about vehicles parked on properties. Especially,
That's a good idea.
maybe we narrow it down. Maybe we narrow it to commercial vehicles parked on properties.
Maybe commercial vehicles over a certain tonnage.
Sure. So that's right. Somebody's pickup truck or someone's, station wagon or whatever that's a commercial vehicle. But yeah, why don't we start large commercial vehicles? Let's see that large and multiple commercial vehicles parked on property. And let's see if somebody's done all that work for us.
Mm-hmm.
Herb and Lee, do you think that's an okay idea?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. Yes.
Sure. Colleen can do a little phone reconnaissance.
So just find out if they have any rules regarding parking multiple large commercial vehicles on
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah.
Not multiple, large commercial vehicles.
Large commercial, okay, I thought somebody said multiple. Okay.
I did, but that's okay. Start with commercial vehicles and find out. It may in fact be that they say multiples or what, that'll be it, but it's definitely large commercial vehicles.
Okay. See what I can find out.
The next one is guidance on children's first for the COVID protocols. My general opinion on it is that Donna did a great job. And that this is a complicated situation. That one of the things Donna asked is, should she reduce the 10-day waiting period? That my feeling is that the longer, if she's trying that anything longer than the CDC is calling for is up to Donna. And in general, longer means safer for her business. So.
Well, I think your comment may be right, but it may not be. that is longer may be safer, but we don't really know that. And I totally agree with your comment that she did an excellent job in a complex area that is nothing but a hornet's nest. I think no matter what we might say as guidance from the board is suspect, because we can find equally valid opposing positions. So I think this is really a difficult area.
On top of that, as Donna is pointing out, you've got different people saying different things, and it's changing on top of that. So shooting at that kind of target, my feeling would be that Donna has thought this thing out well, and that it's something that she is as safe as you can be safe implementing. At least what Donna is proposing is very measurable, and you can say, do we follow this or not follow it? It's so difficult right now that I would support what Donna is proposing and what she's sending out. And Herb, it sounds like you're saying that same thing. Lee, what is your thought?
No, I agree. I read it before. I'm reading it again right now as we speak, and it seems to be right on point.
So, Donna, it looks like we're in support of what you're proposing. I do choose to mention that you are the only one that's come to the board with a set of standards like this that is being put in place to attempt to safely deal with this COVID situation. And I certainly commend you for taking all the time to do that. And again, all the way along, you've been out in front, and if we had a bunch more people like you, life would be better.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
My Zoom isn't really working properly, so I'm hearing that Donna is on this call. Donna, I think you did a great job. What you're also hearing is we're not hanging you out to dry here by not proposing something or being wildly enthusiastic of one position over another. I think this whole thing is so fluid and so flexible and so rife with misunderstanding that's generated by our CDC, by the government, by scientists, by everyone. I think we've really got a tough situation to be doctrinaire about. However, I think you have done a great job. And if I were you, contrary to fact subjunctive, if I were you, I would do just what you said.
Thank you, Herb.
And I support that. And Lee, what is your thought?
Absolutely.
So
Yep,
that's it.
perfect.
You've heard from us, Donna. So good luck at it, and it's just to go beyond what Herb is saying. I talked to somebody at McDuffie today who's dealing with a student that wants to get vaccinated, he's younger than 18 years old or 16 years old, whatever the the age of consent is, and his parents won't let him get vaccinated. And I told him that I think that I just read that there's a court case that said that children who want to get vaccinated can in fact get vaccinated without parental consent. So you're dealing with all of that stuff.
It's very complicated.
Yes. So with that, have a good night and thank you for working as hard as you're working.
Thank you so much. Have a
Okay.
great.
Okay,
And-
good night.
And we do support you.
Thank you. I know you guys do. You've been so fabulous. I talk to people across the entire state, and there's been so much outcry from different providers saying they've gotten no support from their Board of Health. And I said, that is not true in my situation. From March 13th, 2020 onward, we've definitely worked cooperatively together and ensured that we were well informed about what was happening in the town. And I felt like I had Colleen's been fantastic, and whenever I had a question, you guys have been there 100%, and I appreciate it. It's historic what we're going through together.
The good
Yeah.
news, Donna, I didn't send you a copy of it. I was going to send you today. McDuffie asked for the same thing, is that we are really, really on a downward trend in terms of transmission. We're the CDC number today, where we were up as high as 2,500. I think today was 500. So we're 1/5. So it's really going down quickly. So
That's great.
oh,
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
okay,
You
you
too.
too.
Good night.
The next one that we have is on 276 Amherst Street and 64 Aldridge Street. Those are the grow operations, the marijuana grow operation. What the chief of police is looking for, he actually is setting up. It's a 3-stage process, apparently, with the end point being that the town gets the 2 houses. And what happens is the building inspector makes an initial statement saying, gee, this thing doesn't, from a building code, these things are in violation. The Board of Health then comes with a very short acting statement saying the houses aren't, in the existing conditions, aren't habitable. And then the building inspector goes in and says, now from a building standpoint, not a housing standpoint, a building standpoint, that they're not occupiable. And so what they're looking for us is Colleen took my reports and just filled out a housing report, but for my report to be stapled to that, and just for the Board of Health to say in their existing conditions that they're not suitable for human habitation. But in just the fact that no electricity, no heat, no water, no lights, they didn't have smoke detectors, and well, I sent out my report. So are we in a spot that we just say, gee, this failed a housing inspection?
I hope you're not basing that on smoke detectors. You wouldn't want to go into multiple places in town with
Yeah.
that. I don't understand what our function is in this. I'm sorry. I still don't understand.
Well, the police asked to do a housing inspection to say, is this are both of these houses are individually, are they habitable? And that's all they're looking for us is to make a statement saying, we've done the housing inspection and they're, according to code, they're not suitable for human habitation.
So does Lynn do that? I understand that you've been there, but you're not our inspector.
I can be on this particular one. I certainly can be on observing these things, and Colleen put it on the state form.
Okay. I think we should deal with this as little as possible. That's my point of understanding. I don't see what we're doing here, and I don't see that we should spend a lot of time with it.
Lee, I agree with Herb, and my case is just a thing that says that I've done the inspection. Here are my notes. Here are the form, and that we deem the violations severe enough that the buildings aren't habitable. Just the fact that that doesn't mean they can't be at this time. That's all it says, is at this time.
Okay,
But we're not-
then it's up to the individual owner or the bank or whoever is the lien holder to clean it up and resell it or do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, that's all. From my standpoint, I agree with her. We're not the ones that say it's condemnable. We're just saying that in these conditions, just the fact that you don't have heat, electricity, water, and lights, that makes it not habitable, but somebody could fix it.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. Let's just, do what's requested, no more than that, and let the next office, whoever and whatever that is, run from there.
Yeah, and Greg Briggs is actually the one that wants to know if we did this tonight. And we just tell him, yes, we said that they're not habitable.
At this time.
At this time.
Sure. Yep.
So do you agree with that, Herb? That's at this time, neither dwelling is habitable at this time as a result, and just put down that as those inspection dates and give a copy of the form you did. Colleen will authorize you to sign that for me.
Okay.
And then we're done with that.
Good. Let's move on.
Okay, so that's done. The next one is the town hall, the two town halls, visitor prohibition will end next Tuesday, I think. I did talk to Chris Martin today. He thinks that the selectmen will be saying that they no longer want us to have that prohibition. And my suggestion is the data says that it's improving to the point that we should just let that regulation run out. What are Herb and Lee? What do you think?
I think all employees of the town of Granby in our public buildings ought to be immunized.
But that's not this particular action that we took at our last meeting.
We discussed that, though. We discussed the fact that at City Hall, the young woman that works close to Colleen, in the past at least, was not immunized. Is she still not immunized, Colleen?
I don't know for sure.
I don't think she ought to be working for the town of Granby in a public building where I would be exposed to her. So I think that's pretty important.
I think it's important, but I think what Kevin O'Grady told us, I think he told us that at least one of the police or one of the firemen is not immunized. But I won't swear to that. But I thought he said that at our special meeting, Herb.
I don't remember that, Dick. The person at City Hall, though, is going to confront a steady stream of town residents. I don't know how many per day, but it's a positive number.
Well, at this point, we still have the mask regulation. How do we go about doing this thing? Do we get with Chris Martin? I don't know who in this particular case, it's an elected official, I think.
It's an elected official, and if we have absolutely no sway over an elected official in our town who's unimmunized, then I think that we as a Board of Health are totally impotent. So we can talk about all these other things all we want, but we are continually, if this person is not immunized, we're continually providing a situation where she is exposing town residents when she should not be.
So
And
not
if we-
only not immunized, not tested too.
That may well be. I don't know what she is, but if we have no ability to have any control over an important issue like this, then I would just ask a simple question. What are we doing? And why do we exist? And if we are the guardians of the health of our town, why are we letting this persist?
I think if we go down that path, and I get where you're coming from, we also have to ask the question that Dick raised earlier, or the statement that our police, fire, possibly, I do not know for a fact, highway,
School department.
everybody.
School department.
Sure.
So I think what Herb is saying is 100% right. Why are we not saying, if United Airlines can tell their people, get immunized if you're going to be in this working for us, why are we not going to maybe we do, maybe we go and get the school committee who has people, we get Christopher Martin and say, guys, we need to fix this. Now, how are we going to go about doing it? And you guys get behind this, and we're just going to do it.
Well, I think Chris Martin is a key actor in this. And if he's not going to support it, then we ought to know that early on. In fact, we ought to know it immediately. But we ought to also recognize that then we as a board are, we have no ability to do very much. If we're talking about the health and welfare and well-being of the town residents, and yet we're going to allow people to be not immunized and interact with the public, well, it's not a situation that I'd like to remain associated with. Now, if the town wants to say we have no ability to enforce things, if Chris wants to say that and the select board wants to say that, hey, we're just the Board of Health. We're just giving our opinion. My opinion is we're not doing the right thing.
And I will call Chris Martin tomorrow and find out, tell him that we want to get together. That is our goal to get this done. And find out if he's going to support it. At least find out where we're going. But I agree, Herb, that it sure doesn't seem fair that you have a townsperson walk into that building and have somebody in that building, or more than one person in the building, who is choosing not to be vaccinated and also not being tested. Maybe they are tested, but saying, I don't know what you're walking into, but our data certainly knows that that unvaccinated person has a much higher chance of giving the disease to a town person than someone who is vaccinated.
I think you ought to start there, Dick.
I will do that.
I would address him being Chris Martin,
right,
and see where his thinking is.
Okay. I will do that.
Thank you.
I will do that. Now to the other issue. The selectmen did say that they would look at the direction that the town was going in before they asked us to renew this prohibition. And when I talked to Chris and sent him the graph that I sent to all of us today, clearly this thing is plummeting. My suggestion is let it die. Herb and Lee, what are you thinking?
I
Well,
was thinking the same thing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please, Herb.
No,
I was just thinking the numbers are coming down pretty aggressively, and by the 9th, I think that's when it expires. Unless there's an upswing pretty quickly, then I would be in favor of letting it run out on the 9th.
That's fine with me as well, except I don't have the same confidence that the two of you have that this is abating and we're in the clear. I think it's probably going to be just the opposite of that. We've got subvariants, we've got who knows what coming. But I'm okay with what you're proposing. And I will not say, I told you so.
As it turns out, I was Oh, I was explaining to Colleen, if you look back at last Christmas, look back exactly 1 year ago, the numbers weren't as big. They were numbers of like 50, not 250. But if you look at the timing that's associated with moving away from the holidays, it's the same a year ago, on exactly a year ago, was the same drop. And I'm just afraid it's not a magic drop, and it's not that society is all healed and we're never going to see anything again. The difference last year is we had vaccinations coming to help us. We don't have that anymore to come and change it. So, okay. So Colleen, we're just gonna, our inaction tonight means that it's gonna go away.
Okay.
Not the masks. All that is the only thing is for those two buildings with the prohibition for outside visitors. That's
Okay.
what goes away.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
The next one is annual report. I chopped one up. I don't know, Lee and Herb and Colleen, whether you looked at it. I just took it kind of a hatchet to last year's and tried to change it a little bit for this year. And if no one's had a chance to even look at it, can we wait till next meeting, Colleen? Do we have enough time to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I didn't see it. I don't know when you
Okay.
sent it, but
It was
Okay.
late this afternoon.
today. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
I did-
yeah, we got time.
I didn't look at it.
Okay, so you can chop it up too, or all I did was take the things that were obviously tailored only to last year and took them out. So Colleen, we'll look at that next meeting.
Sure.
Fee schedules, is it in us to be discussing that tonight?
I wouldn't like to discuss it tonight, but I would like to have a spreadsheet that I can hold in my hand and compare across the town. So I would ask Colleen to print out the information we have so that I don't know about the rest of you, I can look at it and compare much more easily with this thing in my hand as opposed to tilting my iPad back and forth.
Oh, see, my
Yeah,
computer let me do that. So maybe you can just get Herb a hard copy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right, that would be great. And then I'd love to discuss fee schedules because the little bit I looked at suggested that we're probably leaving some money on the table.
So we'll do that for next week. In fact, maybe we can take it once Herb gets that, maybe we could take a shot at what one of us or each of us would say we'd suggest changing ours to.
Absolutely.
So then we could let you, Colleen, so we don't violate the open meeting law, we can send them in to you and you could come up with a new one.
Yep. Okay.
COVID issues, I have one that I'll give us a chance. Everybody can think about this. The reason, or one of the reasons that McDuffie called me, one was talking about our air sensors, but the other is they have a music and play coming up at the end of February. And the people, the performers, are going to be making noise with their mouths. And they would like to know if the board would support having an audience that was all fully vaccinated and masked, and have the performers unmasked during the time that they're on stage, provided that they've been tested before the performance. And they're going to send the proposal out to us prior to the next meeting, just so we know what's coming.
And presumably that also includes a minimum distance that the performers would be away from the audience.
And that's what we'll have to find out, because I don't know that answer.
Yeah.
I don't know that answer. So I told them to put it in writing so that we could understand it and see, and before our next meeting.
Okay, sounds fine.
Uh,
I have a COVID issue.
okay,
The town of Granby nomination papers are going to be available soon and have to be returned by a certain date with the signatures of 40 or more registered voters. And we no longer have the dump, and we don't have aggregation of people in the same way that we did before. I suspect this is in the bylaws, this 40 or more registered voters. But I looked at that and said, this can't be a good thing in the midst of COVID to ask people who want to be on the ballot to be going around badgering people to sign their petition. So I wonder if there's any way to get relief from that for this year.
Colleen, can you talk to Kathy?
Kelly,
Sure.
Colleen,
Yeah, and see, I wonder what they did last year, just make people do it?
I don't know. I don't remember last year, but looking at it this year, this, I really wonder about the advisability of asking people to go do this. You have to go essentially door to door now.
Yeah.
There's no other way to do it. I don't want people coming to my door.
Yeah, not only to your door, it's you're really face to face saying, here's this thing, sign it.
Yeah.
You have to be within hand to hand.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up. So I think it's a valid COVID issue, and Kelly, we can ask her to address it. I think we're going to be stuck by our bylaws, however.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask her about it.
What I would propose is that it just get waived for this year. Waive it. Why do we want?
Or even a way that you could do it on the phone, even if there's, I don't know how you do. I guess it's to ask Kathy if there must be other towns that are having the same problem.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll see if she knows if they're doing anything different. I haven't heard anything, but I don't know. I'll ask her.
You know, you look at it as Herb is saying, if you look at what they did to make it so it's easier to vote because of this, it's the same kind of issue. It's just in a smaller scale, but it becomes a big scale for your one-on-one.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question for you, Dick. Did you have a chance to talk to our town lawyer about the Dollar General issues?
I did not. But I have had a chance to drive by the place on at least over the last 2 weeks, at least every other day. And other than one day when I saw the second pond lower that was below the ice had actually broken. All the other days that with that, what I can see, the water level is controlled at the outlet that overflows into the storm sewer on the second pond.
And
So
I would agree. Whenever I go by and look at it, I say, a pox on these people.
Yeah. So I haven't done that, and I will do it. We got some more data. Now we have 2 weeks worth of data.
Yeah.
So
I have another question for you. Hasn't, and presumably Chris Martin or someone over in the main castle would know, have we examined our tax rolls to see where the money is going? These two houses were identified because the receipts were going to New York. Where are the receipts for taxes on all the houses in Granby going?
how would any of us on this meeting know that?
I'm not suggesting any of us would know that. What I'm suggesting, if the Board of Health is involved with these houses for whatever reason, then the Board of Health can suggest to the town of Granby that they examine their tax rolls and see where the receipts from taxes are being sent. And if they're being sent out of the town of Granby, then perhaps those are houses that are also suspect.
Yeah, especially if there's if more than one house goes to the same address. That's certainly.
Since I have no way to interact with the main drag here, that's why I'm asking, Dick, if you would do that to find out where the receipts for the taxes go.
Well, I know how we can do that. It's the assessors that do that. Colleen, is it hard for you to just ask it? Because it's fair now. It's fair, as Herb just points out, the Board of Health is now involved with 2 houses that have been asked to be condemned or found not habitable. Can you ask the assessor if they can find out if their houses bills go to common addresses? I'm guessing that they can sort on that. But it's in your building, right?
Yes, oh, yeah, yep. Would that be assessors or would that be collector?
Oh, you're right. That would be tax
Because the
collector.
taxes.
Is that in fact our unimmunized young lady?
Well, without answering the question, could you call her tomorrow or the next day and ask her?
You
I
don't
can ask.
confront her.
And you could say that the board asked that because the board's just been asked to condemn. What I did find out though, and I can't tell you how I found out, but there are like 10 or 20 of these houses that have been found in the last 2 weeks. That they're in Hatfield and Northampton and they're all around.
Yeah.
Why would that
So
be
you-
surprising?
It doesn't surprise me at all.
So what, you want to know specifically about these two houses?
No,
No,
the
no.
question I would ask is that one sort is that what Herb just asked, which is I'm guessing a lot of houses that taxes go outside the town. However,
Outside.
what is common about these houses is the bills went to the same place, the same address. So if you did a sort that just started with that one, that says, are there multiple houses that get billed to the same address? Then that starts. And then if certainly someone goes around and said, hey, 5 of those have all black windows.
Yes, but you also want to know whether tax receipts are going out of the town. If you're living in the house, your tax receipt comes to you. My tax receipt doesn't go to Butte, Montana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I will talk to her, yeah. Mhm.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
What else do we have? Colleen, we're
Got a
Oh,
question,
that's it.
please.
You've got one.
There was 220 West Street was on the agenda. Is that person declined the meeting or something?
I can tell you a little something. I got a call from Mr. Goldsmith last night. And he told me, and I got a call from him a week before. His goal was going to be to use that well that has been incorrectly drilled for a geothermal well. And so he wanted to know if we would be willing to rescind our requirement to get it filled until he could examine it. But what he found out from Cushing is that the current policy is that you can't have a geothermal well within 75 feet of a potable well. And this is going to be too close. So he just said, I don't want to do that. And on top of that, when he looked into what it was going to cost to install a geothermal system, he said that he wouldn't still, he didn't say he wouldn't still be alive when it paid for itself, but he said it seems hard for him to believe that in that commercial building that he would ever own it long enough to make geothermal a going operation. So he's just saying, he told me, he said, I'm not going to come in to see you guys. I don't want to request it. All I want them to do is to do what the Board of Health said to do. And if they don't want to do it, he's just going to walk away from the sale. So that's why he's not here today.
Okay. So do we know what the space is going to be ultimately used for?
He
My
told me,
impression was that when we got the septic design, it was going to be somewhat of a dry office, which is why I think it was a somewhat small footprint on the SAS, if I'm not mistaken.
and I explained that to Mr. Goldsmith, that it was exceedingly small. He explained that his wife wants the building to just groom small animals, not to house any animals, not to use lots of water. And I told him that this is probably a one-time opportunity to increase the size of the leaching facility, and I just wanted him to be aware of it. He said, "Thank you very much." And it is interesting when you look at the rest of the story. Mr. Goldsmith, told me that he is a very seasoned contractor and developer of property, and he knows a lot about wells. And he told me that he was on the property a week before the well was put in with the owners of the property, who were with, he thought, Cushing, staking that well location. And Mr. Goldsmith said, "You are 27 feet off of where you need to be. You are too close. Do not put this well here." And then they did it anyways. So I don't know how much is true. What I do know is true is that Mr. Goldsmith had an appointment and he chose not to come. So the rest of that is just the rest of the story, and it doesn't really concern us very much.
Sure. One more question, please. We had a raccoon bite rabid Friday night in town. The victim was treated, is home, getting rabies shots. It's positive. The victim called me tonight, basically to question the procedure. He killed the animal in his backyard Friday after he got bit. Was told, I think at Bay State, ended up treating him, giving him the first round of shots. He then had to go to a vet office in Belchertown with the dead animal, which they took and sent it, I think, to Boston to determine whether it was positive or negative. Anyway, he had to give the vet $250 to make this test happen. He's wondering if that's the way it is, if it's some type of a state fund for these type of rabid animals. Basically, he's chasing his money backwards and doesn't know if it's his problem or our problem. I have no idea. We had one of these things years ago, but I can't remember what happened.
I have the answer to that.
Okay.
Our cat was severely bitten. We did not know what animal bit the cat, but she was injured significantly. We were worried that it was a raccoon. We went to our vet, and because of the possibility of rabies, the animal was euthanized. Our cat was euthanized. And the procedure is that the animal is then decapitated. The head is frozen in dry ice and sent to Tufts for examination. And it cost more than $250 for us to get the dry ice. They did. pack the head, transport it overnight. So the answer to whomever is that's what it costs.
Colleen, just there again, a phone call to DPH in Northampton would at least confirm, hopefully, exactly what these Herb and this other person found out, and you'll at least be able to answer the question Lee just asked: is there a state fund or a protocol that says this is how it's done?
Yeah, I'll try to find out.
We
Of course,
were not notified of any offset to that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that may be the case. But if it goes the other way, maybe you'll get yourself at least a couple $100 back.
Well,
if there is something in place, I don't know.
If I do, I will buy you a bottle of bubbly.
Of course, when you look at that and you say, I guess what it does is if it comes back negative, you can discontinue the regime, I guess.
You can. That's exactly right. And the animal is disposed of differently if, in fact, it's rabies positive. We were able to bury our cat ourselves, but we would not have been able to do that had the cat been rabid.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta
Okay.
go, guys.
Colleen,
got-
unless you have something else, I'm going to shut everybody off.
I don't have anything else.
Dick,
Oh,
Dick,
yes.
when you get a chance, please give me a call.
Okay. I will do it tomorrow.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.